Yao Ming. Being 7'6" usually means lumbering movement and short career, but Yao Ming broke that expectation immediately. He entered the NBA in 2002 and averaged 13.5 points as a rookie, then exploded into a perennial all-star with smooth footwork, elite touch, and calm decision-making. Yao could shoot over 80% from the free throw line, an absurd number for someone his size, and defenders literally could not contest his jumper. It gets crazier. At his peak, he averaged 25 points and 9 rebounds while anchoring Houston's defense without elite speed. His battles with Shaq were must-watch events, and he held his own despite giving up raw strength. Injuries ultimately shortened his career, but even now there is debate about how dominant he could have been with modern load management. A giant with skill, finesse, and intelligence should not exist, yet Yao did. Shaquille O'Neal. There have been bigger players and more skilled players, but no one combines size, speed, and violence like Shaquille O'Neal. At roughly 7'1" and over 325 pounds, Shaq sprinted the floor, ripped down rims, and forced entire defenses to panic. During his 2000 MVP season, he averaged 29.7 points, 13.6 rebounds, and shot nearly 58% from the field. Teams literally signed extra centers just to absorb fouls. It gets worse for defenders. Shaq once shattered backboards, bent rims, and forced the league to redesign equipment because it could not handle his power. Even intentional fouling barely slowed him, and when single coverage appeared, it was over instantly. His conditioning was questioned, but when locked in, he was unstoppable. No modern player has ever forced rule changes, roster changes, and strategic changes simultaneously. Shaq did it with brute force alone. Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain sounds fake even when the footage exists. Standing 7'1" with a reported 7'8" wingspan, Wilt combined track speed, elite strength, and endless stamina. In the 1961 to 1962 season, he averaged over 50 points and 25 rebounds while playing more than 48 minutes per game. That is not a typo. He scored 100 points in a single game, something that still feels impossible decades later. But that's not all. Wilt was rumored to bench over 500 pounds, run the 100 meters in 11 seconds, and compete with professional volleyball players after retirement. Defensively, only Bill Russell could slow him down, and even then, it required team help. Modern debates often try to downplay his era, but no era explains those numbers. Wilt did not just dominate opponents. He overwhelmed the limits of the human body. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo entered the league as a skinny teenager and turned himself into a nightmare nobody can solve. At 6'11" with a 7'4" wingspan, Giannis can cross the court in 2 dribbles and finish above the rim before defenses react. By 2020, he averaged 29.5 points, 13.6 rebounds, and won MVP while leading the league in dunks. It gets crazier. He added over 50 pounds of muscle without losing speed, turning himself into a modern Shaq with guard mobility. His finals performance in 2021 sealed the legend, dropping 50 points in a closeout game while dominating both ends. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. Giannis does not rely on finesse. He overwhelms space, time, and defenders simultaneously. LeBron James. LeBron James entered the NBA in 2003 with impossible expectations and somehow exceeded them. At 6'9" and around 275 pounds in his Miami prime, he moved like a wing while thinking like a quarterback. In 2009, he averaged 28.4 points, 7.6 assists, and finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. LeBron in transition became a business decision for defenders. It gets worse. His longevity is unmatched, remaining elite into his late 30s while still ranking near the top in minutes, usage, and efficiency. He has scored over 40,000 points, something once considered untouchable. Critics argue about rings, teammates, and eras, but none of that explains the durability. LeBron rebuilt his body multiple times and adapted his game without losing dominance. Strength, speed, vision, and endurance rarely coexist. LeBron made them routine for 2 decades. Zion Williamson looks like he was designed in a lab to break basketball. At 6'6" and around 285 pounds, he moves with the explosion of a guard and the force of a defensive end. In his rookie season, he averaged 22.5 points while shooting over 58%, a number usually reserved for centers. It gets crazier. Zion has a recorded 45-inch vertical, allowing him to carry massive weight through the air without slowing down. Defenders bounce off him, yet he still finishes with soft touch around the rim. Injuries have slowed his availability, fueling debate about his future, but the flashes remain terrifying. When healthy, Zion scores at historic efficiency without relying on jump shots. Everyone knows he is going left, and nobody can stop it. That combination of mass, lift, and control simply should not exist. Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant does not overpower defenders. He erases them. At nearly 7 feet tall with a 7'5" wingspan, Durant shoots like a guard and releases the ball at angles defenders cannot contest. During his MVP season in 2014, he averaged 32 points on elite efficiency while handling the ball full time. It gets crazier. After tearing his Achilles in 2019, many expected decline, yet Durant returned averaging over 27 points on the most efficient shooting of his career. That recovery defied every precedent. He can score from anywhere, over anyone, at any time, without needing space. His frame should not allow that coordination. Durant is not loud, physical, or explosive in a traditional sense, which somehow makes him scarier. He is a walking mismatch who breaks defensive schemes just by standing on the floor. Height was never supposed to move like that. Michael Jordan was not just athletic, he was surgically precise in the air. With a reported 48-inch vertical, massive hands, and perfect body control, Jordan could adjust mid-flight like gravity was optional. In 1988, he averaged 35 points, won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. Nobody else has done that. It gets worse for defenders. Jordan's hang time allowed him to wait out contests, pump fake mid-air, and still finish clean. His fadeaway became unblockable because he elevated higher and stayed up longer than anyone guarding him. Beyond the highlights, his durability stands out. He absorbed contact, played through punishment, and elevated his game in the biggest moments. Jordan did not just jump high. He jumped smarter. Every movement had purpose. That combination of athleticism, coordination, and competitive instinct created the most feared scorer the league has ever seen. Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard entered the league straight from high school and immediately looked different. At 6'11" with elite shoulders and absurd lift, he played center like a power forward. From 2008 to 2011, he averaged 20 points, 14 rebounds, and nearly 3 blocks while winning Defensive Player of the Year 3 straight times. It gets crazier. He once touched the top of the backboard in warm-ups and dunked on a 12-foot rim without hesitation. Orlando built an entire finals team around his gravity, surrounding him with shooters because nobody could guard him one-on-one. Critics later questioned effort and maturity, but prime Dwight erased mistakes everywhere. Guards funneled drivers into him and watched possessions die. His decline fuels constant debate, yet peak Dwight remains one of the most physically dominant defenders ever. A center moving that fast and jumping that high simply broke expectations. Vince Carter. Vince Carter turned athleticism into spectacle. At 6'6" with elite speed and lift, he dunked with violence and grace at the same time. In 2000, he won the dunk contest with creativity that still hasn't been matched, including elbow hangs and 360 finishes. But that's not all. During the 2000 Olympics, Carter dunked over a 7'2" defender, a moment that became basketball folklore. In his prime, he averaged over 25 points while gliding past defenders who looked frozen. Critics argue work ethic limited his ceiling, yet the raw tools were undeniable. Carter changed direction instantly, elevated effortlessly, and finished above traffic like few ever have. Even late in his career, the bounce lingered enough to surprise opponents. No player made fans gasp more often in real time. Carter didn't just dunk. He redefined what dunking looked like. Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook plays like gravity personally offended him. At 6'3", he attacks the rim with reckless speed and explosive lift. From 2015 to 2017, he averaged a triple-double 3 straight seasons, something once considered impossible. It gets worse for defenses. Westbrook rebounds like a forward, ripping boards over bigger players through pure explosion. His MVP season in 2017 featured 31.6 points, relentless pace, and clutch moments nightly. Critics focus on efficiency and decision-making, fueling constant debate, but effort was never questioned. Westbrook sprints every possession like it might be his last. Even in his 30s, the athleticism barely dipped, and his ability to elevate in traffic remained shocking. Rims paid the price. For a point guard to combine that speed, power, and stamina across entire seasons remains rare. Westbrook didn't just fill stat sheets, he overwhelmed them physically. Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett looked like an alien when he entered the league. At nearly 7 feet tall with a massive wingspan and guard mobility, he defended all 5 positions before it was normal. In his prime, Garnett averaged 24 points, 14 rebounds, and anchored elite defenses with non-stop energy. It gets crazier. He played with unmatched intensity, sprinting the floor, switching onto guards, and still contesting shots at the rim. Advanced metrics later confirmed what eyes saw. His defensive impact ranked among the best ever. Garnett's frame was wiry, yet he absorbed contact and never stopped moving. Critics labeled him intense or unstable, but teammates knew that motor fueled everything. He talked constantly, reacted instantly, and never took plays off. A 7-footer covering that much ground for that long broke positional logic. Garnett wasn't just athletic. He was relentless movement wrapped in length and aggression. David Robinson looked sculpted, not built. At 7'1" with a chiseled frame, he ran the floor like a wing and protected the rim like a tower. Before injuries, Robinson averaged 26 points, 12 rebounds, and over 3 blocks across multiple seasons. It gets crazier. He once recorded a quadruple-double, something achieved by only a handful of players ever. His speed allowed him to hedge, recover, and still contest shots, a nightmare for offenses. Robinson's discipline and preparation stood out, fueling debates about peak versus longevity when comparing centers. In 1994, he won MVP by dominating both ends without sacrificing efficiency. Later, he accepted a reduced role to win championships, proving adaptability. A body that's strong moving that fast with that control remains rare. Robinson combined elite conditioning with size and coordination in a way that quietly terrified opponents every night. Amar'e Stoudemire was raw power in motion. At 6'10" with explosive lift, he punished rims like few bigs ever have. In the mid-2000s, he averaged over 25 points while finishing lobs that seemed unreachable. It gets worse when spacing enters. Paired with Steve Nash, Amar'e became unstoppable in pick-and-roll action, forcing defenses to choose between death by dunk or open jumpers. His first step rivaled wings, and his vertical turned passes into instant points. Knee injuries later reshaped his career, fueling constant what-if conversations, but peak Amar'e was undeniable. He attacked without hesitation, elevated through contact, and landed with violence. Defensive limitations existed, yet offensively he warped coverage every possession. Few power forwards ever combined that speed, strength, and vertical explosion. Amar'e didn't glide. He detonated, and for several seasons, the league had no answer for it. Nate Robinson should not be here, and that is exactly why he is. At roughly 5'9", he became a 3-time dunk contest champion by out-jumping players nearly a foot taller. It gets crazier. Robinson routinely blocked shots in games, grabbed rebounds in traffic, and finished above the rim with confidence. In 2013, he scored 23 points in a playoff comeback while playing through injury, earning cult hero status. Critics dismissed him as a novelty, but athleticism this extreme demands respect. His burst, vertical, and fearlessness defied logic. Seeing someone his size dunk is shocking. Seeing him do it repeatedly against NBA athletes feels impossible. Nate turned disbelief into entertainment nightly. He was proof that freak of nature doesn't always mean tall or massive. Sometimes it means jumping higher, faster, and harder than anyone expects. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.